Most people think they know what to grab in an emergency: bread, pasta, canned soup, maybe some bottled water if they get there in time. And here's the uncomfortable truth: that list is exactly what everyone else is grabbing. The same 100 people, the same empty shelves, the same feeling afterward that something wasn't quite right. That feeling is accurate because panic buying isn't the same as being prepared. Grabbing familiar things off a shelf when a storm is already named, that's a reaction. And a reaction by definition arrives after the problem does. The 7 foods in this video, nobody is fighting over them. We're counting them down, starting with the one most households should have had first. Let's get into it. Number 1, dried lentils. Most serious emergency pantries have dried beans in them somewhere. Kidney beans, black beans, pintos, and honestly, that's not nothing. Beans are calorie dense, they store reasonably well, and they're familiar. That instinct to grab them makes sense. But here's the part nobody talks about until they're actually in the situation: cooking over a camp stove with no idea when the power comes back on. Dried beans require soaking. We're talking 6 to 8 hours of sitting in cold water before you can even begin to cook them. Then another 1 to 2 hours of active boiling before they're actually safe to eat. On a normal Tuesday in your kitchen with a working stove and unlimited gas, that's a mild inconvenience. You plan around it. But in an emergency where your fuel is finite, a propane tank with a fixed number of burn hours, a camping stove with a single fuel canister you can't just swap out, a firewood supply that isn't being restocked, that cooking time isn't just inconvenient. It's a serious resource problem. Every batch of beans is drawing down a supply that doesn't come back. Now consider what happens when you make one single different choice at the grocery store. Dried lentils need zero soaking, none at all. You rinse them, put them in water, bring it to a boil, and they're fully cooked in 20 to 25 minutes. Number 2, blackstrap molasses. There's a bottle in the baking aisle of almost every grocery store in the country. Dark, almost black, usually tucked just below eye level between the corn syrup and the maple syrup. Most people pick it up once, look at it, and quietly set it back down. That bottle is blackstrap molasses, and if you're building a serious emergency pantry, it belongs in it. Here's what's actually happening inside that bottle. When sugarcane gets refined into white table sugar, the juice goes through multiple extraction rounds, each one pulling out more sugar crystals. When the flour is gone and the pasta shelf is empty and bottled water is a memory, this bottle is still right where it always was. If you've been taking notes on any of these, which one surprised you most so far? Drop it below. I'm curious which items people are actually missing from their pantries. Number 3, dried shiitake mushrooms. There's a deficiency that develops quietly in almost every emergency diet. And the reason it's so dangerous is specifically because it's quiet. By the time most people notice it, it's been working against them for weeks. Vitamin D. Your body primarily gets vitamin D 2 ways: from direct sunlight hitting your skin and from animal-based foods. In an extended emergency, where you may be sheltering indoors for extended stretches, where stress is already taxing your immune system from multiple angles, both of those sources become unreliable at the same time. And vitamin D deficiency doesn't produce a sharp, obvious warning. It doesn't feel like hunger or pain. It slowly erodes your immune function beneath the surface, week after week, before anything visibly wrong appears. By the time you can feel it, the window to prevent it is already behind you. Dried shiitake mushrooms are one of the only plant-based foods in existence that contain stable, meaningful levels of vitamin D. Number 4, oat groats. If you've put any thought into emergency food before, there's a decent chance you have rolled oats in your kitchen somewhere. Maybe a canister, maybe a bag. And that instinct, oats are calorie dense, familiar, filling, easy. That part is right. The problem isn't the oats. It's the form you're storing them in. Here's what most people discover too late, usually when they're clearing out a pantry they haven't touched in a while. Rolled oats are processed. The whole oat kernel gets steamed and then physically flattened, specifically to shorten cooking time and improve texture. That processing is convenient in the kitchen. but it also cracks open the grain's protective layers and exposes the internal oils to oxygen. And once oxygen gets in, degradation starts. You can't stop it. You can only slow it down. Under genuinely good storage conditions, cool, dry, sealed, rolled oats hold meaningful quality for 1 to 2 years. Number 5, wheat berries. Here's something most people genuinely don't know about the flour sitting in their pantry right now. The moment wheat gets milled into flour, the grain breaks open. The oils inside the wheat germ, oils that carry fat-soluble vitamins, nutritional density, and a lot of the flavor, are suddenly exposed to oxygen. And the second that happens, an irreversible process begins. Those oils start oxidizing. The clock starts. Under normal household conditions, standard all-purpose white flour degrades meaningfully within 6 to 12 months. Even if you do everything right, sealed container, cool location, low humidity, you might stretch it to a year. You're not getting to 2 years with good quality. You're certainly not getting to 5. So when someone tells you they have a long-term food supply built around flour, what they often actually have is a medium-term supply. The flour has a quiet expiration date built in from the moment it was milled, and most people have no idea. The alternative almost nobody considers is wheat berries. A wheat berry is the whole intact kernel of wheat, just the outer inedible husk removed. Everything else stays: the bran layer, the germ, the endosperm. Number 6, miso paste. There's a consequence of prolonged emergency that almost no one prepares for. And the reason most people don't prepare for it isn't that it's complicated or hard to understand, it's that it doesn't feel serious until you're in it. When dietary variety disappears completely and stays gone, something shifts in human psychology that goes well past boredom or preference. Morale drops. Patience shortens. People who are ordinarily calm and cooperative start making poor decisions, not because they're physically depleted, but because the relentless, grinding sameness of every meal has worn down something essential in them. Researchers call it appetite fatigue. And in a high-stress emergency, it doesn't stay at the dinner table. It bleeds into every judgment call the household makes. It makes disagreements sharper. It makes the right decision harder to reach. It's a slow drain on the exact resource, human judgment, and cooperation that you can least afford to lose. This is the problem miso paste is uniquely positioned to solve, and it solves it in a way that nothing else on this list can. Most people in Western kitchens know miso, if they know it at all, as the warm cup that shows up before the main course at a Japanese restaurant. That association is both accurate and wildly incomplete. Number 7, coconut aminos. The number 1 item on this list is almost certainly going to get a skeptical reaction the first time you hear it. And that's fine. It got one for me too, until I understood the specific problem it solves. A problem most people never think about, until they're in the middle of it with no solution in reach. Coconut aminos is made from the fermented sap of coconut blossoms. Most people who've come across it know it as a soy sauce alternative, a lower sodium option used in health-conscious kitchens. No stove involved, no fuel spent, no oil required. That's a practical advantage that's difficult to replicate with anything else in a standard emergency pantry. It also carries 17 amino acids, making it a minor nutritional contributor beyond just flavor. And its sodium content is meaningfully lower than conventional soy sauce, which matters more in an emergency context than it might seem. 7 items. Let's bring them together clearly before you go. Number 1, dried lentils are the foundation. Efficient protein, minimal fuel cost, fast cooking, and a direct contribution to the iron levels that a crisis diet will reliably deplete. Everything else on this list builds on top of them. Number 2, blackstrap molasses fills the mineral gap that grains and canned goods simply can't cover. The magnesium, iron, and calcium your body needs to regulate sleep, manage stress, and keep the nervous system functioning properly. Still sitting there. At the prices that exist today, before any shortage creates urgency, the strongest emergency pantry isn't the one loaded with the most of what everyone else grabbed. It's the one that was built quietly before the situation existed with the 7 things nobody else thought to include. Now you know what they are. Which one surprised you most, and which one are you adding first? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone, and it genuinely helps me understand what to cover next.